Hello everybody. So I'm sorry I can't be there today. I'm still not feeling well. And so I will be back on Thursday. But until then, I've got a lesson for you. All right, so we're going to work on equivalent fractions and putting them on a number line. But we're also going to be using some models in order to do that. So I want you to take your piece of paper. And the first thing you're going to do is you're going to take your piece of paper and fold it in half, hot dog style. So it's going to look like this when you're finished. So go ahead and fold your paper and get ready for the next step. So you'll notice that now I have 2 pieces, but I need 4. So once you're done folding it in half once, you're going to fold it in half one more time so that when you open it up, you will have 4 strips or 4 equal pieces. So you are folding this in fourths. So when I open this up, I'm going to have 4 equal pieces. All right? So go ahead and fold it again. It doesn't have to be perfect. We just need 4 equal pieces, or as close to equal as we can get it. Okay? So after you have the 4 equal pieces, you're going to cut these into strips. So you've got 4 different strips that you're going to have when you're finished. So you're going to get your scissors and cut as carefully as you can, and it's easier if you put it down. I'm going to hold mine up so you can see exactly what I'm doing. And I need 4 equal strips. So these strips are going to be important to the lesson today. We're going to use these as visuals for what we're writing down. So I need you to make sure that you do have 4 strips and that those strips are as equal as you can make them, and cut kind of slowly. You know, I mean, I don't want them to look all jaggedy. All right, they need to look nice. All right, so we've got the 4 equal strips, and my printer's going off. Okay, so the first strip that you have, we're going to use this strip, and if I'm going a little too fast, whoever's there can go ahead and pause, and so you guys can get caught up. I'm going to take one of my strips, and I'm actually going to take that strip and fold that in half so that I have 2 equal parts to this hole, okay? So I have half here and half here. 1/2 plus 1/2 equals 1 whole, the whole strip. So on my strip then, I am going to write half on each side, okay? So I'm going to put half and half, okay? All right. I'm going to zoom in on that so you can see it a little bit better. There we go. So we've got half on this side and half on this side. So I'm going to use this visual to help me make my number line. Okay? So on my number line here, on your problem set, so we're going to use this strip in order to complete the problem set, okay? So this is going to be helpful for number 1. All right, and let me zoom in on number 1 so you can see it a little bit better. There we go. Oh gosh, I'm having a little bit of trouble with that. Okay, so for number 1, so we've got the number line at the top of the page, and it says that we're supposed to use our folded strip in order to mark a 0, a 1, and then 0 halves, 1/2, and 2 halves. Okay, so, well, if we have 1/2, that's going to be exactly in between the 0 and the 1. So I know that 0 is going to go here at the end. I know that 1 whole is going to go at this end. Okay? So Now I simply have to put in the fractions. Well, if I have 0 halves, I don't have anything. So 0 halves would go over top of the 0 because it's the same as 0. Okay? Now, where would half go? Well, let me see here. Let me take a look at my strip here. And if I were to make a line here, this is half of the strip, correct? So we can see that this is half. Well, half would be halfway in between the whole thing, right? Between the beginning and the end of the strip. So halfway. So here we have to determine what would half of this number line be. Well, half would look like, it looks like right about there would be half. That's halfway in between. And we can see that on our strip. Halfway would be right here. So this is going to be where I put half. Okay. Now where would 2 halves be? Well, let's look at our strip here. This is 1 half. This is 2 halves. So 2 halves would be at the end of the strip. So it's going to be at the end of my number line. So this would be 2 halves. 2 halves equal 1 whole. Also, if you think back, I've been telling you that fractions are division problems. So if we say 2 over 2, we could also say 2 divided by 2. Well, if I have 2 things, if I have 2 pins, all right, and I put them in a group of 2, I have 1 group of pins. So 2 divided by 2 gives me 1. Because it's 2 pins, put them in a group of 2, that gives me 1 group, okay? Let me show you that again. 2 pins, put them in a group of 2, I have 1 group, okay? And you can do that with anything. You could do that with marbles, you could do that with cards. If you have 2 cards, you put them in a group of 2, you've got 1 group. So you can do that with just about anything, okay? So we're putting those, we just put those on a number line. Now, down here, it says, well, what if we were to draw and shade in half of each one of these? This looks like pieces of paper, right? So we want to show half of each one of those. Well, how can we do that? Well, with this first piece of paper, if we want that to look like the strip here, we want this to look the same, okay? We could draw a line right down the center. And that shows half, okay? Now, and we could actually color in half of that piece of paper. So it says shade the left half. Well, we can do that. We can shade in this left half right here to show half. Well, now down below, they give us a multiplication problem. And we've been working with these multiplication problems to get equivalent fractions. And it says here, but if we have half and we multiply the numerator and the denominator times 2, we can get 2/4. So how could we change this to make it 2/4? Well, I know, we could fold it in half again. Well, if we fold it in half this direction, take a look what happens. Now we have 2/4, which is the same as half. So we're actually showing a picture representation that 2/4 is the same as half. So what would we do if we went back to this number line? Where would we put 2/4? Oh, we'd put 2/4 right up here, right? 2/4 because it's equivalent to half. Okay, so let's move to the next piece of paper and let's show another equivalent fraction. So this time we're going to cut this paper in half. Oh, got a little wavy there. Okay, now I'm going to shade half in again. but I want to show a different equivalent fraction. So this time, I'm going to take half, and I'm going to multiply that, the numerator and the denominator, times 3. So this time I have 1 times 3, which is 3. So that's 3 is my numerator. 2 times 3, which is 6. So here, the denominator tells me now, this time I'm going to have 6 pieces. Over here, 2/4 told me 4 pieces. 4 pieces in the whole thing. This time I need to break this into 6 pieces. So I've already got 2 pieces. So if I draw a line right here, there's 2 pieces. Draw a line right here, there's 2 more pieces. There's 2 more pieces. So that's 2, 4, 6 pieces. So I notice that when I shaded half in, okay, I still have, when I cut this again, I still have the half shaded in, and that represents 1, 2, 3 pieces out of the total amount, which is 6. So this is another visual representation of an equivalent fraction. Okay? All right, so let's go on and do this next one. So we've got half, and this time I'm going to multiply the numerator and the denominator times 4. All right? So I'll wait for you to write that down. And this time, again, we're still going to be cutting this paper in half because I want to shade half of it in, and then notice what happens when I get the 8 pieces, which 1 times 4 is 4, 2 times 4 is 8. So this time I need 8 pieces in the whole. Well, let's start off by shading in half because we want to see how this all shakes out. So this time, notice with half, I've got my 2 pieces, my 2 original pieces, but this time I want to show that 4/8 is equivalent to half. So I need 8 total pieces. So now I've got to do 2, 4, 6, 8. So now when I look to see how much is shaded in, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces, which that's my numerator. And then in my total, because that's my denominator, the total number of pieces, I've got 2, 4, 6, 8. That's where my 8 comes from. All right, so we've got one more sheet of paper to cut in half. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and color this in. I've got half. And this time I'm going to multiply the numerator and denominator times 5. So when I do that, I've got 1 times 5 equals 5. 2 times 5 equals 10. So I know when I'm finished with this, I'm going to have 10 pieces, and 5 of those pieces will be shaded in. So let me go ahead and do 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So we've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. That's my denominator. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are shaded. All right? But you'll notice in each picture, half of them are shaded in. So I can see, I can go back to that original fraction and determine that all of them are equivalent. So I could even stack the 3/6 up here. I could put the 4/8 up here. I could put 5/10 up here. Any of those will fit on this line on in this spot in the number line because all of them are equivalent to half. Okay? All right. So I want you to take, when you're finished with this, I want you to take your next strip, and this time you're going to fold one corner in this way, and it doesn't have to be perfect, and one corner in this way. And when you open it up, you'll notice that you've got 3 parts. So what am I going to use for my denominator this time? If you said thirds, you're right, because 1, 2, 3 pieces in the whole thing. So that would be thirds. And each one is 1/3 of the whole. So we're going to put 1/3, 1/3. My pen's running out. 1/3, 1/3. Okay? So you're going to have thirds. Now we're going to refer to that when we're working on this. So now I've got my number line, and I need to put on there 0/3, 1/3, 2/3, 3/3. Okay, so since that's what I need to do, I noticed that when I did 0/2, 0/2 was at the end of my number line because it's the same as 0. So 0/3 is going to be the same thing. 0/3. It's going to be over here, which is the same as 0. Now, what did we put at the end of our number line that was equivalent to 1? Well, up at the top, we did 2/2. 2/2 equaled 1 because 2 divided by 2 equals 1. My numerator and denominator were the same. So when I look at these, I notice 3/3, the numerator and denominator are the same. So I can put 3/3 at the end because it is equivalent to 1 whole. All right, now I need to put 1/3 and 2/3 on the number line. So I like to go ahead and put my beginning and my end of my number line, because then it becomes a little more apparent where my other numbers need to go, or my other fractions need to go. So if I get my base, then it makes it a little simpler. So here I've got, there's 1/3, and there's about where 2/3 belongs. So I've got 0/3, then I've got 1/3, and then I have 2/3. All right, go ahead and fill those in. Now, I'm going to start doing the same thing with equivalent fractions with thirds. Now I'm going to go through the same steps that I went through with halves for thirds, but I'm going to use these pieces of paper, and I'm going to start off by splitting them into 3 pieces. Okay, and so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to draw my line right here. There's 1/3, there's 2/3, and then there's 3/3. So I want to know what is equivalent to 1/3. So I'm going to use the same thing that I did before, and I'm going to color in 1/3 of this piece of paper. Okay? I'm going to go through the same steps. So if I have 1/3 and I multiply my numerator and my denominator times 2, that's going to give me an equivalent fraction, because I'm multiplying the same number to the numerator and to my denominator. So I've got 1 times 2 is 2, 3 times 2 is 6. So this tells me that I'm going to have 2 pieces colored in, but I'm going to have 6 pieces all together. Okay, so now I've got to show that. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut this into 6 pieces. So I'm going to draw my line right here on this piece of paper. Notice I now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces, which that's my denominator, and 1, 2 pieces are colored in. That is an equivalent fraction. So I could put 2/6 right here on this number line, because 1/3 and 2/6 are equivalent. Now, because 1/3 is there and it is equivalent to 2/6, if I wanted to put 2/6 on this number line, I would have to put it right there. I can't draw another line, even though it'd be like right here. That would not be correct because 2/6 and 1/3 are equivalent. It would have to go on the top here. Okay? All right, so now I'm going to take this piece of paper and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to make that into 3 pieces. I'm going to color in 1/3 of the piece of paper. And then I'm going to write my original fraction, 1/3. This time I'm going to take 3 and multiply the numerator and the denominator both times 3. Now remember, because this is 3/3, when we look over here, 3/3 is equivalent to 1. So I am multiplying this times 1. Okay, I'm not multiplying this times 3 because 3 whole, remember we talked about that, is different than 3 over 3. 3/3 is equivalent to 1 whole. So now I can multiply my numerators. 1 times 3 is 3, and then my denominators, 3 times 3 is 9. So I need 9 pieces in the whole thing. And 3 of them will be shaded in when I cut them into 9 pieces. So I've got 3 pieces now. So I need to cut here, there's 3, here, there's 6, and there's 9. So now I have 9 pieces. That's my denominator. 3 pieces are colored in. But you notice I didn't color anything else. I still have 1/3 colored in. But 1/3 is equivalent to 3/9. So I could take this fraction right here and replace it. I could take this one and erase it if I didn't write in pen. I could erase it and put 3/9 in its place because those two are equivalent. All right, so I've got another piece of paper, so I need to do the same thing here. Cut this into thirds, and I need to color in 1/3. And I'll write my original fraction. And this time I'm going to multiply the numerator and the denominator times 4. So my numerator, 1 times 4 is 4. 3 times 4 is 12. So this time I need 12 equal parts. 4 of them will be colored in. So I've got 1, so there's 3, 6, 9, 12. 3, 6, 9, 12. So I've got 12 pieces, and 1, 2, 3, 4 of them are colored in. All right? I hope you're getting the visual of this and how this relates to the number line. Now here, I could pick this up and I could put it right on the top of 1/3 because 4/12 is equivalent to 1/3. And I know that because I colored in 1/3. I still have 1/3 colored in, but I also have 4/12 colored in. All right, the last one for thirds. So I want you to go ahead and cut that paper with your pencil. Yeah, that sounds funny. Draw your lines to cut it into thirds. Color in 1/3. And then write your original fraction. This time, obviously, we're going to multiply the numerator and denominator times 5. One times 5 is 5. 3 times 5 is 15. So this time I need 15 parts. So this time I'm going to cut it here. So there's 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. So I've got 15 pieces in the whole thing. That's my denominator. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are colored in. So again, we could remove 1/3 and put 5/15 in its place because they are equivalent fractions. All right? So I hope you're getting the hang of this. I'm going to show you, I'm going to begin some of the others, but then I'm going to kind of cut you loose to see if you can do some of these on your own. So if you need to, if the sub needs to, she can pause, but I'm going to go ahead and go on to the back page. And the back page says to continue the pattern, but do fourths. Okay? So for the fourths, we're going to start working together, and you can use the strips in order to continue this. I want you to go ahead and on the number line, we're going to put in the 0 and the 1. Now remember, if you look back to the other side for a second, we did 0 halves at the end for the halves. We did 0 thirds at the end for the thirds. So we're going to do 0 fourths here. Now, at the other end, we've got 1 whole. 1 whole is the same. We need the same numerator and denominator. The numbers on the numerator and denominator are the same to equal 1. So if we want 1 down here, we would have to have 4 fourths. So we need to fill in 1/4, 2/4, and 3/4. So we're going to do 1/4 would be about here. 2/4 we already know is the same as half, right? 3/4 is going to be right about here. So we've got 1/4, 2/4, and 3/4. So there's the number line with the fourths already written in. So what we're going to do is we are going to go ahead and cut this into fourths. So let's go ahead and cut this. Let's do 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4. All right. So this time, I want to show an equivalent fraction to 3/4. So we're going to color in 3 of these fourths. I know this is not my best coloring job. Bear with me. All right. So we've got 3/4. So what could we do to show something that is equivalent to 3/4? Well, we could do times 2 times 2. So what would that be? So we've got 3 times 2 is 6. 4 times 2 is 8. So we need to have 8 equal parts, and 6 of them we say will be colored in. Well, let's see what happens. So we've got, let's cut it right here. So do we have 8 parts? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We do. Are 6 of them colored in? 3, 6. That's exactly what we have. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the rest of these into 4 parts. Okay, and color in the 3/4, write down my original, and then multiply the top and the bottom both times 3. So I'm going to give you a second to see if you can get the answer and see if you can figure out how to cut this so that we can show those equal number of parts and then show how many are colored in. Well, if you multiply this and you got 3 times 3 is 9 and 4 times 3 is 12, you're absolutely right. So now we need 12 equal parts. So to get 8, we cut it right here in half. So I'm thinking that I'm going to be cutting it, let's see here, we've got, there's 4 pieces. here would be 8 pieces. Here would be 12 pieces because I have 4 on each line. 4, 8, 12. So let's see if 9 of them are colored in. Well, we've got 3, 6, 9. We absolutely do. And do you notice when I colored 3/4 in, I did not color any more in to get 9/12. So I know those are equivalent. So I could put up here on my number line, I could put 6/8 above it. I could also stack 9/12 above it. Each one of these are equivalent, 9/12, 6/8, 3/4. I've shown that with the 2 pictures. So let's go ahead and go to the next one. Cut this into 4 pieces. Color in 3/4 because that's my original. Write down my original fraction and multiply the top and the bottom, this time times 4. So this time it's going to give me, my numerator is going to be 12 because 3 times 4 is 12. 4 times 4 is 16. Oh gosh, now I need 16 parts. All right, so we had 12 here and I cut it 2 times. So I think I'm just going to have to cut it 1 more time. So I've got 4, 8, 12, 16. So 4, 8, 12, 16. There's 16 equal parts. And let's see how many are colored in. Let's see if we got the 12. 3, 6, 9, 12. We sure do. So this picture shows me, notice I did not color any more in. I still just have 3/4, but I also have 12/16. And for the last one, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Color in 3/4. Three-fourths times 5/5, or 1 whole. When I multiply that, I've got 3 times 5 is 15, 4 times 5 is 20. So now I need 20 equal parts. So this time I cut it 3 times, so now I'm going to cut it, let's see, 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 times 4 is 20. So I know I've got 20 equal parts. Well, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. 15 of them are colored in. So I still have 3/4 colored. Haven't colored any more. 15/20 I know is equivalent to 3/4. All right. So the last one. Okay, so the last one we're going to do is 5ths. All right? So first of all, we have to go ahead and create our number line. Well, I already know that 0/5 goes at the beginning and 5/5 goes at the end. 5/5 I know is equal to 1, 0/5 is equal to 0. So I don't have anything that's halfway in between. So I'm looking here at 4ths, and on the in-between I had 1, 2, 3. So on the in-between here, I'm going to have 1/5, 2/5, 3/5, 4/5, 5/5. And I know this isn't totally exact, but it's pretty darn close. So there I have my number line all set up. Now, the equivalence they want us to do this time is, it says 6/5, but I'm going to mark that out, and I want to do 4/5. Okay, so I'm going to make this into 5 pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm going to color in 4 of them. All right. So 4/5 times 2 times 2. All right, so this is 2 halves, which is equal to 1. So 4 times 2 is 8. 5 times 2 is 10. All right, so I need 10 pieces. So I'm going to cut this right here. I haven't colored any else in. So I've got 5, 10, and I've got 4, 8 pieces. So 8/10 is equivalent to 4/5. Now I'm going to start this one, but I want you to come up with the answer. And I'm going to start it over here. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4/5 times 3 times 3. 4 times 3 I know is 12. 5 times 3 is 15. Oh, I forgot to color. Sorry. Getting excited about this. Gotta love fractions. Can't eat without fractions. All right, 4/5 are colored in. Now I need to make 15 pieces. So I've got 5, 10, 15. I've got 4, 8, 12 colored in. So 15 in the whole thing, that's my denominator, 12 are colored in. All right, so I could put these in the place of 4/5 on the number line. Now, you are going to have a few problems to work on. I want you to work on those, and they're very similar to this, showing how to get equivalent fractions. I'm hoping this made sense to you. I will be back on Thursday, and we'll do some more with the equivalent fractions and number lines. So I want you to keep watching, keep thinking, always stay curious, and I'll see you on Thursday.